Welcome back, class. It is normally the concept has been listened and used these two important words, power and authority. Uh, the people use these two interchangeably, or at the same time they use the word power and authority. Uh, as a concept in political science, by this important concept, the power and authority, they have a variety of meaning. In this figure, you see the power on the left side and authority on the right side. And we will discuss these two important concepts in political science in today's discussion. Let's start. Power is what? What to have. What you have, which you have. The power, the force, your legitimacy, your influencing power, your economic power, your political power, uh, any of the area. And the question is that what is power? Normally, the power is the ability to control or to influence the people or their resources you have. The ability or the capacity to do something or act in a particular way, so that is being considered as your power. The ability you have, the capacity which you have, the ability or the right to control the people or the things, that is considered as your power. That is considered as a power. The power. The concept of power has been, as I have in the very start, have discussed that the concept of power variously used, like the social power, like the cultural power, like the economic power, the political power, and like the legal power. So we will briefly discuss all these sort of concepts of power relating to the power. Social power. Social power or social power, it is the use of power to influence the people who have control over who becomes or remains a decision maker. Use of power to influence people who have control over who becomes or remains a decision maker. It is linked to the political power. It is linked to the cultural power. It has a social power because they are cultural icons. For example, charismatic politicians, they have the power. Sports peoples or celebrities or entertainers or academics, so they have this kind of social power. They have no actually power in their hand, but they have the power. Their words, their actions mean sometimes we see their appearance in commercials on TVs, so they have the power. Most of the people follow them. So it also linked with the political power. It also will link linked with the cultural power. There are many areas. So the social power is the power to influence the peoples, uh, to control who becomes or remains a decision maker in a sense. Cultural power. Cultural power, it is use such power to gain an advantage, economic or legal, for the group. For example, what it's kind of maybe used by religious bodies or ethnic minorities groups or lobbyists that have as their basis sex or sexuality. Cultural power. Cultural power means the power of used by these groups uh, to maintain their power. maintain or to means to influence or to promote their idea, their any of their purpose, their objective, cultural power, to gain an advantage in any of the sense. Economic power, it is widely used and held by a person. It has been held by entity that has the money, that has the money power, means that do they have currency, means of production in their hands, or capital to influence law and decision makers. So they have this sort of power. In low level, for example, a breadwinner of family or at high levels majority shareholders in company, they use such power to gain political or legal control. So the economic power is the control of the means of production. They have the money power, they have the currency power. By the help of it, they control. So they have, by the help of this, they control over the politics. They control the political or the legal areas. Economic power is powerful, being considered as a most significant and powerful and vital one. Political power is held by the person or the group that is able to control the running and policy development of a decision-making or controlling body. Such power is used by favoring a person or organization in a decision-making process. And for example, union leaders, they have the political power to control, to do something within their favor and for the favor of their, for example, workers have their party or their union, so they have their union leader, and that particular union will influence the government to do the certain actions in their favor. So that is their political power. School prefects have their political power at very lower level. Committee chairpersons have their powers. Politicians have their political power, and they use it by using different tools of that have been used in politics for the achievement of their objectives. So political power, it is normally considered as the power by the decision makers or the government or the some sort of political parties who they use it. Legal power. Legal power is the power where the person or the group has the ability and authority to create sanctions or inhibit the rights of others, where a group or person can enforce its rights or create or apply the law. So this is being considered as legal or genuine one, or the power with the person or with the body, with the agency or with the group. Other groups without genuine law making power, but with political and economic power. Other groups without genuine law making power, but without political and economic power. For example, power of media and financial institutions to alter the law. Mostly, it is this kind of power is used in parliament when they make decisions, which is being considered, which is been a most important lawmaking agency in a state, parliament, and courts who they interpret those laws have the legal powers. So the legal powers being used by these institutions, would they be considered as most important and significant institution in a state to run the state affairs. Now the thing is that what are the sources of power? Uh, what are the sources of power? Reward power, influence staff by rewarding. The first one is reward. Reward power means reward power is a source of power, Influence staff by rewarding a desired behavior. Mean you have an influence over your staff and a manager by doing what? By rewarding a desired behavior. By this, they have the power. And the coercive power. This is the physical use of power, mean influence the staff by punishing them for undesirable behavior, or it is means concrete one that the user, for example, a manager who punishes any of his staff member by wrongdoing, so it means that it is his coercive power in his hand. And legitimate power means that this is sort of source with an individual or a company or a group in the form of reward, in the form of coercive, in the form of legitimate. So legitimate power means that influence behavior of staff because of his or her formal position, like the principal of the college who has legitimate power to control his staff, the manager of a bank or manager of a company who has a legitimate power. So these legitimacy is the source of the power with the executive of any of the department or any of the agency or any of the group. Referent power. Referent power means that influence behavior based on their staff's liking and identification with the administrator. Means that influence here, he influence behavior based on the staff's liking and identification with the administrator. And expert behavior is also a source of power, that once you have an expertise in an area, you have a special knowledge, you have a special skill that is being considered as your expert power technique or expert power. So your knowledge in certain area is a source of power with you, and it is being considered as expert power. Uh, Now comes to then another linked concept, that is authority. Uh, that what authority is, what are its sources, and how it is being used. So, what is authority? Authority is the legitimate or acceptable use of power. Power has been discussed, that how we channel the power, that is the that is authority, that you have the authority to use that force, to use that power. You have a legitimate or illegitimate use of that very power is called your authority. The power or right to give orders, the power, your power, the power to enforce certain laws, the power to make decisions, the power to enforce the public for obedience of certain actions. This is called the right of authority or the authority. A person or organization having political or administrative power and control. So it may be with the person, or it may be with the organization, it may be with the institution basically, and it may be the political or administrative power in the hand of those to control the affairs. That is called authority. So concept of authority is been variously been used, and it has been used like the customary one, like statutory authority, like common law, like delegated kind of authority. Customary, statutory, common law, and delegated. Now, customary authority is what kind of authority it is. Authority to wield power as a result of history or tradition, that this is supposed that is called that this is the custom of our land, this is the custom of our area, that that on the basis of the history or tradition, traditional power. So this is customary authority. Historically, men over women. We have seen that the societies from matriarchal to patriarchal moved. So historically, we see that men have control over women, non-indigenous over indigenous. Uh, so customary traditionally, so often recognized at common law, and for example by parents over children they have control is a customary one. Employers over employees, this is a customary kind of authority. And the state over the individuals, for example in the form of police, government officers and defense forces, they have control over their citizens. So these kinds of authorities are called customary authority. Who they held it. Suppose parents have the authority over their children, this is their customary authority. Statute or statutory authority. It is held by the person and the organization that are provided with power uh, by their political authorities. For example, custom agencies and tax offices. They have been given authority in the statutes or in the constitution. They have been given authority. Statutory. Common law authority, authority provided to persons and groups by the courts. So this is known as common law authority. For example, employers once had common law authority to completely control the lives of the employees. The position of men in society was reinforced by ability to own a wife at common law. So these are common law authority. Delegated kind of authority or delegated authority. Authority being given to subordinate. Suppose if you listen the in the American Constitution, there's some of the power being delegated to the officers to do any of the action on their behalf. Means that authority given to the subordinate officers or subordinate or lesser or people or organization to make decisions or principles on their own behalf. So these kinds of power which have been delegated to these lessers is considered as delegated authority, and they used to increase administrative efficiency of an organization. So this is being this way we may call it a delegation of power. Suppose if you study the local government, you will see this sometimes the central or the provincial power delegate some power to the locals. So that means that they delegate their authority to the locals for the want of what to increase the administrative efficiency. For example, junior staff in business organization to manage a budget without having to bother managing director. The local councils giving delegated authority to make laws, as I have discussed that local councils, the local government, sometimes the provincial or the central government delegate them their authority to make certain laws for the smooth functioning of, for the increasement of the administrative performance of any of the area. Max Weber has described the three types of legitimacy: uh, traditional, charismatic, and rational or legal. Traditional kind of legitimacy is conferred by custom and accepted practice. Traditional legitimacy is a kind of legitimacy which is customary one, which is an accepted practice throughout the world. The second one is charismatic or charisma. It means that the gift of grace. Charisma means gift of grace. By that charisma and extraordinary personal qualities of an individual. This is called charismatic legitimacy. And rational or legal. Rational or legal means the power authorized by certain legal and bureaucratic procedures. The legal one, the rational one, the legal process, the legal kind of authority or legitimacy. The power with the legal department legally. Traditionally means customary, charismatic means the person's personal qualities, and rational mean the legal ones, the bureaucratic procedures, the legal a certain way. Don't abuse your power, just be nice means that what should be the criterions to the use of the power. The first one should be that one being an officer or being in a group company manager or an organization chief or head of any of this, he should be polite and clear in his way. He explain reasons when requesting something from your staff, respond to the concerns of staffers, and use legitimate authority. These are the means of don't of the power. Thank you, students. Thank you very much for today's discussion.